Tom jolted awake to the deafening silence. Something was wrong. Usually, the rhythmic hum of his farm's irrigation system provided a soothing white noise in the pre-dawn hours, but tonight it was eerily absent. Rubbing the sleep from his eyes, he stumbled to the window and peered out into the dark, frigid air. His heart sank as he noticed a flash of movement near the shed where his prized Snowblower was always parked. In that instant, he remembered the angry text from his neighbor. "I saw Karen with your Snowblower last night." For months, Tom had cherished that Snowblower, a reliable companion during the brutal winters on his rural property. It was not just a tool. It was a lifeline that allowed him to clear the driveways and paths that kept his farm running. But now, his livelihood tool was gone, stolen by none other than the infamous HOA Karen. Known for her unyielding strictness and penchant for meddling in every little detail of community life, Karen had a reputation for enforcing rules in the most absurd ways. Yet, stealing a Snowblower? That was new, even for her. As Tom's shock deepened, a surge of indignation and resolve welled up inside him. He recalled every petty fine she'd imposed on him, the unsightly color of his barn door, the crooked placement of his garden gnomes, and now this outrageous theft. The injustice was personal. It wasn't simply about a missing machine. It was about the overreach of an enforcer who believed she had the right to control every aspect of his property. Determined not to be the victim of Karen's tyranny any longer, Tom hatched a wild plan. If Karen was so intent on meddling and taking what wasn't hers, then he would show her that a farmer fights back. He decided to rent an industrial-grade Snowblower, a machine so powerful it could clear an entire field in minutes, and use it to exact a frosty revenge. The idea was as outrageous as it was poetic. By creating a massive wall of ice, 6 feet tall, to encase her house, he would force her to confront the consequences of her actions. It was a symbolic act, a declaration that in his world, property rights were sacred and that no one, not even an overzealous rule enforcer, could trample on them with impunity. In that moment, as the first hints of winter's chill crept into the air, Tom knew that his life was about to change forever. Tonight, under the cover of darkness, he would set his plan into motion. Karen's misdeed was about to be answered in kind, a towering wall of ice that would bury her house, and, with it, her petty reign over his land. And as he powered up his phone to call for the industrial Snowblower, Tom felt a fierce determination rise within him. This was not just retribution. It was a stand for every homeowner who had ever been pushed around by arbitrary rules. Tonight, Karen would learn that in Tom's world, the frost is mightier than the fine. Tom's farm, Winter's Edge, sat on 150 acres of rugged, yet breathtaking land on the outskirts of the small town of Pine Hollow. It was a place where nature reigned supreme, a blend of rolling fields, dense woodlands, and an ever-changing tapestry of seasons. Tom had inherited the land from his father, who had taught him that every tool, every piece of equipment, and every inch of the property was a testament to the family's legacy of hard work and self-reliance. Among the many prized possessions on the farm, his Snowblower was his winter warrior, a sturdy, reliable machine that had cleared more driveways and fields than any other tool could claim. Pine Hollow, though small, was not without its quirks. The community was governed by the strict Local Homeowners Association, HOA, a body known for its relentless enforcement of uniformity and decorum. Crescent Pines, the exclusive gated subdivision within Pine Hollow, was where every lawn was manicured to perfection and every house adhered to a specific aesthetic. At the heart of this regimented order was Karen Miller, universally known as HOA Karen. In her mid-50s, Karen was the epitome of rigid conformity. Clad in sharply tailored outfits and never seen without her clipboard and smartphone, she patrolled Crescent Pines like a self-appointed guardian of its pristine image. To her, every deviation, from an off-color mailbox to a non-standard tree ornament, was an offense that needed immediate correction. While many residents quietly complied with the HOA's unyielding rules, Tom had always marched to the beat of his own drum. His farm was a world apart. a place where creativity and practicality coexisted harmoniously. At winter's edge, every tool and every harvest told a story of independence. Tom prided himself on his ability to innovate and adapt, whether that meant using solar panels to power his operations or embracing modern machinery that made the harsh winter months manageable. His Snowblower, with its gleaming metal and robust engine, was a symbol of that ingenuity, until it was stolen by someone who took the rules of Crescent Pines too far. For Karen, the idea of strict adherence to the HOA guidelines was paramount. She believed that any sign of individuality or deviation from the norm was a threat to the orderly facade of the community. Her eyes were constantly scanning for the slightest hint of nonconformity, and her finger was always ready to point out what she deemed as flaws in the neighborhood. It was this very obsession that led her to steal Tom's Snowblower, a move that, in her mind, would force him to conform to her vision of perfect community living. But Tom was not one to be cowed. He had grown up on winter's edge, learning the value of hard work and the importance of defending one's own space. His mind, sharp and resourceful, quickly turned this act of petty theft into an opportunity for a grand, frosty payback. The plan was simple yet audacious. Rent an industrial-grade Snowblower and use its power to create a massive wall of ice. A wall that would tower 6 feet high and serve as a permanent, chilling reminder to Karen and the HOA that Tom's property was his own. Crescent Pines and the surrounding areas were a study in contrasts. While the neighborhood prided itself on conformity and order, Tom's farm stood as a bastion of individuality and rugged independence. His way of life was a testament to the belief that true progress was born of creative expression and the freedom to innovate, principles that clashed head-on with the HOA's draconian enforcement. And now, as Karen's petty theft had pushed him to the edge, Tom was ready to unleash a counterstrike that would change the balance of power in Pine Hollow forever. The shock of discovering his stolen Snowblower was quickly replaced by a burning resolve. Tom spent the early hours of that fateful morning reviewing the security footage from his barn. The grainy images confirmed his worst fears. A figure, unmistakably Karen Miller, had been seen sneaking onto winter's edge under the cloak of darkness. With a swift motion, she had made off with his beloved Snowblower, leaving behind only a trail of indignation and a bitter taste of injustice. Every minute of the theft was logged, timestamps, angles, and even the sound of crunching snow underfoot. Tom meticulously printed out these screenshots and stored the footage on multiple drives. He knew that if he were to stand up to the HOA's abuse of power, he would need irrefutable evidence of Karen's wrongdoing. But evidence alone was not enough to quell the anger simmering in his heart. He needed a plan, a bold, unequivocal response that would not only reclaim his dignity, but also send a message to every resident in Crescent Pines who had long suffered under the yoke of arbitrary fines and petty enforcers. Tom's mind raced as he considered his options. The theft of his Snowblower was more than a personal loss. It was a violation of his right to manage his property as he saw fit. In a flash of inspiration, he recalled the industrial Snowblowers he had seen in rental advertisements. These machines were behemoths compared to his modest, reliable Snowblower, a true powerhouse capable of clearing vast fields in mere minutes. Renting one would not only replace his stolen machine, but also provide him with the raw power needed to execute his plan. Tom immediately contacted a local equipment rental company and arranged for an industrial Snowblower to be delivered to Winter's Edge within the hour. As he waited for the machine to arrive, he began to sketch out his counterattack. His idea was as simple as it was brilliant. Use the industrial Snowblower to clear a massive, perfect swath of snow and then, using a combination of heavy-duty equipment and his own determination, build a 6-foot wall of ice around the perimeter of Karen's house. It was a move that would be as dramatic as it was symbolic, an icy barricade that would bury her in a physical manifestation of his defiance. Over the next few hours, Tom mobilized his small team of trusted farmhands and enlisted the help of a few neighbors who secretly supported his stance against the HOA's overreach. They worked tirelessly as the industrial Snowblower roared to life, its engine a deep, thunderous growl that echoed across the silent winter landscape. Together, they cleared a wide expanse of snow from the area surrounding Karen's property, marking the beginning of what Tom would later call Operation Frostbite. The plan required precision. Tom had measured the boundaries of Karen's lot using old surveying equipment and digital maps. Every inch had to be accounted for. Every cut of the snow, every layer of compacted ice would be a testament to his resolve. As the team worked, Tom oversaw the process with a mixture of technical expertise and raw emotion. He knew that this was more than a simple act of revenge. It was a stand for every homeowner who had ever been bullied by the HOA's arbitrary rules. As the hours passed, the cleared area gradually took shape. The industrial snowblower carved a clean line through the deep drifts, and soon, the team began constructing the wall. They used heavy machinery to scoop and pack the snow, and with the help of specialized ice molds, they began to build a towering wall that slowly, steadily rose toward the 6-foot mark. Tom's hands, calloused from years of farm work, worked deftly to secure each layer, ensuring that the wall was not only imposing but also structurally sound. The project was not without challenges. Bitter winds and falling temperatures threatened to slow their progress, and the clock was ticking. Tom wanted the wall to be complete before Karen discovered the true extent of his retaliation. But the sense of purpose among the team was palpable. Every shove of snow, every precise layering of ice, was a defiant act against the injustice they had suffered. With each passing minute, the wall grew higher, a frozen testament to Tom's determination to reclaim his property rights. By late afternoon, as the fading sunlight cast long, icy shadows over the field, the 6-foot wall of ice stood complete. It was a towering structure, smooth yet unforgiving, a physical manifestation of Tom's resolve. His team had done the impossible. They had transformed a field of untouched snow into an impenetrable barrier that now encircled Karen's house. And as Tom surveyed the finished work, a fierce satisfaction welled up inside him. The wall was not only a practical solution to prevent further intrusions, but also a bold, artistic statement that said, "My land, my rules." As word of Operation Frostbite spread, the digital world exploded with reaction. Social media lit up with posts, videos, and photos of the imposing 6-foot wall of ice. Hashtags like hashtag Frostbite Revenge, hashtag Icewall, and hashtag Property Rights Now trended locally and quickly spread beyond Pine Hollow. Neighbors who had long endured the oppressive whims of the HOA and its self-appointed enforcer now found their voices in a chorus of support for Tom's daring retaliation. Local news crews were soon on the scene. Reporters captured the dramatic transformation, the industrial snowblower in action, the team of farmhands working in tandem, and finally, the finished ice wall, an imposing, glistening barrier that encircled Karen's property. It's a winter wonderland of defiance, one anchor quipped on live television, as interviews with stunned residents revealed a mix of admiration and incredulity. "I never thought I'd see the day when a man would build an ice wall to protect his rights," another neighbor remarked, his voice tinged with both amusement and respect. Within the HOA board, tension escalated rapidly. Emergency meetings were held behind closed doors, and leaked minutes revealed a community in turmoil. Some board members, who had once championed the strict enforcement of rules, now began to question whether Karen's actions, and the resulting backlash, were truly in the best interest of the community. "We must protect the rights of every resident," one board member was overheard saying, "or we risk becoming a tool for personal vendettas." The internal discord only added fuel to the fire of public outrage. As the digital dossier of Operation Frostbite grew, so did the momentum of the community's resistance. Tom's detailed blog posts, complete with time-stamped security footage and behind-the-scenes photos of the ice wall's construction, were shared widely on community forums and social media platforms. Supporters hailed his innovative solution as a victory for property rights and creative freedom. "When one man stands up, the whole community stands up," one viral post read, echoing the sentiment that had united hundreds of residents. Online petitions demanding accountability from the HOA and a thorough review of their policies gathered tens of thousands of signatures in a matter of days. Karen Miller, for her part, was thrust into the spotlight. Her once unassailable reputation as the staunch enforcer of HOA rules was now under intense scrutiny. In a series of hurried social media posts, she tried to spin the narrative, claiming that Tom's actions were vandalism and an affront to community order. But every attempt to discredit him was met with a tidal wave of digital evidence that painted a different picture, one of a determined homeowner fighting against arbitrary suppression. The local authorities issued statements emphasizing the importance of property rights and the legality of Tom's modifications. Every resident has the right to modify their own property within legal boundaries, a spokesperson for the county noted in an official press release. When such actions are met with unwarranted interference, it is our duty to ensure that justice is upheld. The endorsement by public officials further emboldened the community. Rallies and town hall meetings began to take place throughout Pine Hollow. Neighbors who had been previously too intimidated to speak out now gathered in public squares, their voices raised in unison against the overreach of the HOA. Signs bearing slogans like "Our Land," "Our Freedom," and "No More Karen" were brandished proudly, and every shared video clip of the ice wall only fueled the collective defiance. The digital evidence of the ice wall, its smooth, towering presence against a backdrop of a winter sky, became a symbol of the community's unyielding stand for justice. As the final public hearing approached, the air in Pine Hollow was electric with anticipation. Residents prepared to take the battle to the next level, confident that the combined force of digital evidence, public outcry, and legal certainty would force the HOA board to reconsider their stance. Every social media post, every online petition, and every rallying cry reaffirmed one undeniable truth. Property rights are inalienable, and no enforcer, no matter how zealous, can trample on them without facing consequences. Tom continued to document every development, live streaming his updates, and posting detailed analyses of the evidence against Karen Miller. His digital dossier was now the cornerstone of a movement that spanned the entire community, turning what began as a personal loss into a rallying cry for creative freedom and individual rights. The hashtag Frostbite Revenge became a rallying banner for those who believe that innovation and independence should always prevail over petty bureaucracy. As the day of the final public hearing dawned, tensions reached their zenith. The community center was packed with residents, each one carrying the hope and determination of those who had long suffered under arbitrary enforcement. The collective energy was palpable, a united force ready to confront the HOA board and demand accountability once and for all. The decisive moment arrived on a crisp, clear morning at the Pine Hollow Community Center. The boardroom was filled with a diverse mix of HOA officials, local law enforcement representatives, community leaders, and hundreds of determined residents, all gathered for the final public hearing that would decide the future of property rights in Pine Hollow. With a calm, yet commanding presence, Councilwoman Rebecca Adams stepped up to the podium, her eyes reflecting the unyielding resolve of a community that had had enough. After a comprehensive review of all digital evidence, including time-stamped security footage of the ice wall's construction, detailed logs of unauthorized property modifications, and the impassioned testimonies of our residents, we have reached an inescapable conclusion. Councilwoman Adams began, her voice ringing with authority. It is abundantly clear that the actions taken by Mrs. Karen Miller, specifically the unauthorized removal of property assets and the subsequent bans and fines imposed on my neighbor's farm stand, were not motivated by any legitimate concern for community order. Rather, they were driven by personal bias and a gross abuse of power. Our community's fundamental right to manage our own property and express our creativity must be upheld. A heavy silence fell over the room as Adams continued. Effective immediately, the HOA board will rescind all fines and sanctions imposed as a result of these actions. We will also launch a full disciplinary review of the policies that allowed such arbitrary interference. Furthermore, new guidelines will be established to ensure that every resident's right to modify and utilize their property without fear of punitive measures is protected. Today's decision is not merely about one incident. It is a resounding declaration that Pine Hollow will no longer tolerate the suppression of individual rights and creativity. Her words struck a chord, and murmurs of agreement rippled through the assembly. At that moment, a longtime community advocate, renowned for his unwavering defense of property rights, rose to speak. "Today we stand united as one," he declared, his voice resolute and impassioned. "No resident should ever have to suffer at the hands of an enforcer who uses her authority for personal vendettas. Let this vote mark the turning point, a clear signal that our community values freedom, innovation, and the sanctity of private property above all else. We demand accountability, and we will not rest until every violation of our rights is met with swift, decisive action." His declaration was met with thunderous applause, uniting the room in a powerful call for reform. Following his address, a senior officer from the local regulatory agency presented the final dossier, a meticulously compiled record of all digital evidence, expert testimonies, and official documents that confirmed the legality of Tom's property modifications and debunked every claim made by Karen Miller. The evidence was irrefutable. Not only was Tom's act of building the ice wall a lawful exercise of his property rights, but was also a necessary stand against arbitrary HOA overreach. The Internal Affairs Panel unanimously endorsed strict disciplinary measures for any abuse of power, and the full report was scheduled for immediate public release. Councilwoman Adams concluded, "Let this resolution mark the dawn of a new era for Pine Hollow, a community where every resident's rights are sacrosanct and where public authority is exercised with fairness, transparency, and integrity. Our vote today is a resounding declaration that we will protect our freedoms and that no one can impose their personal biases on our community without consequence. Together, we stand for justice, accountability, and the inalienable right to live and innovate without fear of arbitrary interference." Her final words, delivered with unwavering conviction, sealed the turning point in our struggle for property rights and creative freedom. In that defining moment, as every face in the boardroom shone with determination and hope, the balance of power shifted irrevocably. The overwhelming digital evidence and the unified voice of the community forced the HOA board to take decisive action, a turning point that would forever reshape the governance of Pine Hollow. The days of petty fines and personal vendettas were over, and a future built on respect for individual rights was finally within our grasp. In the weeks that followed the historic vote, Pine Hollow underwent a remarkable transformation. News of the rescinded fines and sweeping reforms implemented by the HOA board spread rapidly through local media and social networks, sparking impassioned debates about property rights, creative freedom, and community governance. Editorials in the local newspaper, bearing headlines such as "A New Dawn for Pine Hollow" and "Community United for Freedom," celebrated the decisive actions taken to safeguard every resident's right to express themselves and manage their property without fear. Hashtags like #PropertyRights, #NoMoreHOBullying, and #IceJustice trended widely, reinforcing our collective determination to stand up against arbitrary rule enforcement. Town hall meetings and community forums saw unprecedented attendance as residents gathered to share their own experiences and to envision a future where individuality was not only tolerated but celebrated. Neighbors, who had long lived under the oppressive oversight of the HOA, now spoke passionately about their right to innovate and create without restriction.